Nobody expected this from Tiger Woods' son. Not in just his second U.S. Open attempt, but what Charlie Woods just did sent shockwaves through the golf world, not because he won, not because he qualified, but because he stood toe-to-toe with something far tougher than any field expectation. The legacy of one of the greatest golfers to ever live. The glare of the spotlight that never blinks. And the pressure of carrying a last name that changed the sport forever. And somehow, he walked away with something even more valuable than a scorecard, a message. But what does that message mean, and could it signal a turning point for the future of golf itself? You see, Charlie Woods has never had what you'd call a normal junior career. From the moment he first stepped onto the range beside his father at the PNC Championship, every single shot became a headline. Every swing, analyzed, every finish. Compared, he wasn't just a young golfer finding his rhythm, that he was Tiger Woods' son. And that label came with baggage. Heavier than any tour bag he's ever carried. At just 11 years old, we saw him stripe fairways and drain putts with that same effortless calm that only someone who grew up watching a go could emulate. And yet, even then, fans weren't just watching for fun. They were watching to see the future, to see what came next. And now, that moment might finally be here. Because what came next wasn't glory, it was pressure. Real, suffocating, expectation-crushing pressure. Charlie didn't just enter the junior golf scene. He entered it with a target on his back. Every tournament, every tee shot, every glance from the gallery carried an unspoken question. Is he the next one? He wasn't just competing against kids his age. He was battling a myth, that a last name, that has rewritten the history of the sport. Over the past few years, under Tiger's relentless mentorship, Charlie has built something stronger than mechanics: discipline, routine, resilience. That he's grown in frame, in focus, in fearlessness. But let's be honest, no number of reps on the range can prepare you for what it's like to walk into a U.S. Open qualifier as Tiger Woods' kid. Because out there, no one's clapping for your last name, that they're testing if you can live up to it. The pressure was building, but would it break him or sharpen him? And that brings us to 2025 at Wellington National Golf Club. Early morning, mist hanging over the fairways, and there he is, Charlie Woods, 16 years old, stepping onto the tee for his second shot at U.S. Open qualifying. This wasn't just about making it to Pinehurst. It was about something deeper: validation, about silence, about proving that the kid behind the viral highlights and Sunday red polos actually belonged, that the son of a legend wasn't just a storyline, he was a contender. The buzz was deafening before a single ball was struck. Cameras ready, reporters whispering, fans craning their necks, half expecting a moment, any moment, worthy of the Woods name. Not because they expected him to win, but because they expected something, that a breakout, that a collapse, that a headline. Every eye was locked and waiting to see if Tiger's son could handle the weight of his own destiny. What they got instead was a little bit of everything and a whole lot of surprise. But the surprise wasn't in the scoring, it was in the way he played, because this wasn't just a qualifier anymore. This was a statement moment, and Charlie Woods made sure the entire golf world heard it, loud and clear. What he said, without saying a word, was louder than anyone imagined. The stage was set at Wellington National Golf Club. Florida heat rising off the fairways, silence before the swing, pressure thick enough to taste. And what happened next nobody saw coming. Charlie Woods shot a 3-over par 75, a number that, on paper, might not turn heads until you understand what it really meant. Because in the ruthless world of U.S. Open qualifying, where even seasoned pros get eaten alive by one bad hole, a 75 from a 16-year-old amateur isn't failure. It's noise, that it's disruption, that it's the start of something. And for anyone really paying attention, it was a message. Charlie Woods isn't here to be compared, he's here to compete. He missed the cut line by 7 shots, didn't advance to final qualifying, that didn't make headlines for clutch birdie streaks or a miraculous eagle on 18. But this was never supposed to be about the scorecard, it was about progress, about redemption, about what happens when a kid walks back into the same storm that once broke him, and this time refuses to flinch, because just 1 year ago, Charlie's U.S. Open dream ended fast. The nerves were visible, the moment too big, the weight of his last name too heavy. But this time, everyone could see the difference. From the very first swing, he looked different. He stood taller, he gripped tighter, and instead of crumbling under pressure, he fought it, shot after shot, hole after hole. He battled not just the course, but expectation itself. And when he walked off that 18th green, he didn't leave with a tee time for Pinehurst. He left with something far more valuable, proof. Proof that his name isn't his only weapon. Anymore. Tio put it in perspective. The cut line hovered around even par. Charlie finished at 3 over, ahead of dozens of players, many of them older, more experienced. Even a few with PGA and Korn Ferry Tour resumes. This wasn't a junior event. This was real golf, against real grown men. And Charlie didn't just show up, he belonged. This was a teenager stepping into the lion's den, and holding his own, and in doing so, he forced everyone to take him seriously. His round had its highs and lows. The front 9 was tight. Par strung together like a pro grinding through a moving day. To bogey on 7 threatened to shake him, but he bounced back with clutch recoveries, especially around the greens. Got on the back 9, a 2-putt bogey on the par 5, and a missed short par putt tested his nerves, but the composure never cracked. T. Looked like he belonged, and that quiet confidence might just be his greatest strength yet. Here's the twist. He didn't make it. But this wasn't failure. This was a warning shot. Moments like this reveal more than any trophy ever could. This wasn't Charlie collapsing. This was Charlie arriving. Point. One round doesn't make a career, but one round like this, it gets everyone watching. A whole lot closer. Let's be honest. When Charlie Woods stepped onto the course at Wellington National, fans expected one of two things: brilliance or disaster. Either he'd post a miracle round that would melt social media, or he'd fold under the weight of his last name. But what we got instead was neither. And somehow, that was more shocking than both, because sometimes the biggest surprise isn't chaos, it's calm. Charlie Woods didn't make the cut. He didn't hole out from the bunker on 18th. He didn't shoot under par or silence every critic with one swing. But what he did do was something far rarer. He proved that pressure doesn't have to break you. It can build you. But what truly stunned the golf world was how calm, composed, and, dare we say it, professional he looked. At just 16, walking in Tiger Woods' shadow with cameras tracking his every move. Charlie handled the moment like a seasoned vet. And that maturity, it hit harder than any winning score ever could. And no one saw that coming. Because when expectations are sky high, grace under pressure becomes the real headline. From the very first tee shot, there was a different energy about him. Not flashy, not nervous, just poised, controlled, focused. He looked like he belonged. And in golf, a game where presence often matters more than performance, that's what left fans and analysts genuinely stunned. Charlie didn't just show up. He announced himself without saying a single word. The Tiger effect was in full force. But let's not sugarcoat it. Charlie isn't judged like any other teenage amateur. He's Tiger's son. Every swing is dissected, every round magnified, every facial expression captured and analyzed. Because of that, every slight misstep becomes headline material. And yet, here's the paradox that really got people talking. He didn't qualify. But for once, that didn't matter. Yet somehow this was his most impressive moment yet, because real greatness isn't always written on a scoreboard. It's written in how you carry the weight. And Charlie Woods carried it like a pro. Social media erupted in the aftermath. Golf Monthly called it a solid performance under elite scrutiny. The Spun highlighted composure that belied his age. And Golf Magic said it best. The score might not reflect it, but Charlie made a statement. Even fans on X began to change their tune from "Can he qualify?" to "This kid's the real deal." And just like that, the conversation around Charlie Woods changed forever. You could feel it. A collective pause across the golf world. The reaction wasn't disappointment. It was respect, because this wasn't a viral clip. It wasn't a father-son novelty. This was a young athlete carving out his own space, quietly, efficiently, and on his own terms. And in a sport, in a world built on hype and noise, authenticity is what truly stuns. That's why everyone's watching now. Not because he won, but because he proved something far more valuable. That maybe, just maybe, he's ready to take on the impossible. And that is a future nobody wants to miss. Now that the dust has settled and the scorecards are in, one question hangs over the golf world like a thick morning fog. Is Charlie Woods the real deal? Because while the headlines fixated on a 3 over par finish and a missed qualification mark, something far bigger is starting to take shape. And now fans, analysts, even the skeptics, they're all starting to realize it. and what they're realizing might just change the narrative entirely. Let's talk trajectory. On paper, this result doesn't scream breakout that he didn't qualify. He finished 7 shots back, but in terms of development, it might be the single most important step in Charlie Woods' journey yet. Why? Because it showed growth. It showed awareness. It showed maturity beyond his years. All the signs of a rising star. One learning how to build something that lasts. Because sometimes, steady growth is more powerful than overnight success. Charlie's still just 16. Think about that. Most kids his age are figuring out high school, not walking into U.S. Open qualifiers with cameras rolling and crowds waiting to dissect every swing. And yet here he is, handling interviews, executing a game plan, managing pressure like a seasoned pro, and doing it all with a last name that could crush even the most confident young golfer. That's not normal, that's rare. And in golf, rare gets remembered. And here's where it gets interesting. The improvement is undeniable compared to last year. This wasn't the same kid. He looked sharper, calmer, more strategic. He didn't just swing hard and hope. He thought through every shot. Golf Magic noted how his course awareness and poise are beginning to mirror the Woods legacy. The Spun called him strategically sound and emotionally mature, which, in golf language, means this kid gets it, and once you get it, you're already ahead of the game. Now zoom out. How does Charlie stack up against other prodigies at this age? History tells the story. Rory McIlroy didn't make his first Open appearance until 18. Jordan Spieth missed multiple U.S. Open attempts before breaking through. Even Tiger wasn't qualifying at 16. Charlie's already closer than most, and doing it under 10 times the pressure. And still, he shows up swinging. So does this result hurt him? Not even close. If anything, it cements him. Because this isn't hype at its foundation. It's slow burn development in a world obsessed with instant results. He's building, learning, adapting, and doing it all under a microscope. And the best part, he's just getting started. The question isn't, is Charlie Woods the real deal? The real question is, how soon before the rest of the golf world realizes it? Because when they do, it might already be too late to catch up. Now that the final putt has dropped and the dust has settled at Wellington National, one thing's crystal clear. This wasn't the end of the road for Charlie Woods. Not even close. If you look past the scorecard, past the numbers, you can see it for what it really was. A beginning. A quiet, disciplined, fiercely focused beginning. And beginnings like this, they don't just lead to good careers, they lead to eras. Because when a star starts rising, everyone wants front row seats. This wasn't some novelty appearance. This was a 16-year-old amateur standing in the spotlight, showing that he belongs in the conversation, that he can handle the expectations, the cameras, the comparisons, all of it. And now, with 2 U.S. Open attempts behind him, one marked by nerves, the next by undeniable progress, Charlie Woods finds himself in the perfect position to learn, to regroup, and to return stronger. And the stronger he gets, the harder it becomes to look away. And here's where the speculation begins, because the road ahead, it's anything but quiet. And if we've learned one thing about Charlie Woods, it's that he thrives on noisy roads. Could we see him take another shot at U.S. Open qualifying next year? Absolutely. Based on the leap he's made between year 1 and year 2. It's not a question of if he'll be back. It's how far he'll go. And don't be surprised if next time, he's not just competing, he's contending. The gap is closing fast. And once it closes, momentum takes over. But what about the pros? Could Charlie Woods get a taste of PGA Tour competition before he even turns 18? Maybe not next month, but let's not pretend it's impossible. That he's got the name, that he's got the swing, that he's got the poise. And most importantly, he's got the mentality. Because when a tournament director sees the words Charlie Woods, tee time at 9:42, they know what that means for ticket sales, for broadcasts, for buzz. And buzz is what golf has been missing for a long, long time. And here's the punchline everyone's thinking about. If this is what Charlie Woods looks like at 16, what happens when he's 20? That's the part that's both thrilling and terrifying for everyone else, because this isn't a question of if he'll arrive, but it's a question of when. And the truth, we might not have to wait long to find out. Whether or not he becomes a major winner someday, one thing's already clear. Charlie Woods isn't chasing anyone's legacy anymore. He's carving his own. And with every swing, every qualifier, every round, that path gets sharper, more defined. More is so now. It's your turn. Do you think Charlie Woods has what it takes to follow in his father's footsteps? Or is he destined to blaze a trail all his own? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and stay tuned because the next chapter of the Woods legacy is coming fast.